What is going on, you guys? MAYZOMATIC here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over something that a lot of people have asked for, and it's something that people always want to know how to do better, especially beginning Madden players who aren't that experienced at using the middle linebacker, and that's what I'm going to be going over. Not specifically the middle linebacker, but just using people in general. I personally like to use my linebackers, usually my middle linebacker, and so I'm going to be going over 5 steps to make sure you are the best user you can be in Madden. And so the first thing I'm going to talk about goes without saying, and that is practice. And I'm not counting this as one of my steps because this is pretty obvious that you need to practice, and a lot of people expect, there's a little here and there tips that are just going to make you good at using. And there are tips that can help you with that, but there's nothing that's going to make you just become an automatic good user. You just got to practice with it. You got to play a lot of games, and practice using against opponents, and soon enough you will notice that you are actually becoming a pretty good user. And so now let's get into the 5 tips that I was talking about. The first tip that I'm going to talk about is before you even step into a game, before you step into practice mode, before you do anything, is on the main menu. You want to go over to your settings. So customize on the far right, and then you want to go to your settings, and then inside settings you're going to look at your game options, and the 2 big things that you need to change are defensive auto strafe and defensive ball hawk. Turn those both on. I know my system originally they were off, and once I turned these on, using became so much easier. And the reason is auto strafe, if you don't know, to strafe is to press L2 when you're running, and it kind of makes your guy slow down and be more in control, I guess. He's going to catch the ball better, he's going to play the ball better, and he's going to make tackles better. But this auto strafe will have the computer do that for you, so you don't need to worry about it. And then the other one is defensive ball hawk. And the reason I want it on is because it will make your defender that you're using auto move into the position to catch the ball and intercept the ball when the ball is near you if you are holding down the catch button, which the catch button is triangle. And so along with this tip, I'm going to count this in step number 1. Also is hold down triangle when you are running around and using. When you are, running across the field, covering around, just be holding triangle down the entire play. Right as the ball is hiked by your opponent, you want to start holding down triangle, and that way your guy will be ready to catch the ball at any moment. And also, I don't know if this is true or not, but the way I feel is if you're holding down triangle, every computer on the field is more willing to get an interception and catch the ball. So be holding down triangle the entire play from the second they hike the ball. So step number 1, go into settings and turn these on and hold down triangle the entire play. So the reason I want to turn on the defensive heat seeking, I mentioned it will move your guy into position, but I want to go into a little bit more detail on it. Pretty much what happens is if you are anywhere close to where the ball is thrown, your user will automatically move into a good position to play the ball, and despite what you do with your controller. So if you're anywhere close, the computer's automatically going to move you into a position to intercept the ball, which is really nice, and it takes away that intricate precision you need to have with your stick skills. It makes it a little bit easier, and it's just really helpful. The second step I want to talk about is actually who your user is. So for those of you who play Ultimate Team, you know that Anthony Barr and Ryan Shazier are pretty much the 2 best users in the game for the past couple years, and that is because of their physical attributes. So I'm on the Steelers right now, and I'm going to be looking at Ryan Shazier. He's personally one of my favorite. Anthony Barr is my other favorite, obviously, because they're both so good. I'm going to talk about the things that make a good user and what you should look for when choosing user. So if we're looking at Ryan Shazier, so looking at his stats, he's only an 80 overall, but he has 90 speed and 88 agility. He has 90 acceleration, and then the big thing that I like is his jumping, if I can find it. His jumping is 97. So he's only 6'1". I say only. He's a tall 6'1", but that's not even close to, Anthony Barr's 6'6". I don't know if he's 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", around there. Jimmy Graham is 6'7", so you're going to need someone who can get up there, and 97 jumping is really good. And the reason I like to jump so high or use Anthony Barr, who's 6'6", 6'5", and also has good jumping, is because you can stand underneath routes 5 yards underneath a route, and they can't throw it over your head, because if they try to throw it over your head, then your guy's gonna jump up and be able to pick it off. So it's nice because you can kind of bait people and cover a lot more ground than someone who's shorter or can't jump as high, just because of how much reach they have and how high they can get. You're going to be covering guys who are 5 yards behind you, 5 to 7 yards behind you, and maybe also covering a guy who's right in front of you. So the physical attributes like that really make for a great user. And the first things I looked at too are speed and acceleration and agility. And that is because obviously you, like I just said, you want to cover as much ground as possible. And in order to do that, you need to be fast. You need to be able to outrun the receivers and tight ends and just completely move across the field at your own will. So the second step is choosing a great user player to control. The third tip I'm going to talk about is what to do when you're actually on the field. So I'm just going to call a random play and come out in a random formation. And so Ryan Shazier, like I just said, is the guy I would like to use here. And what you want to do when you come out is kind of think offensive-mindedly, if that makes sense. Offensive-mindedly. Have an offensive mind. Think about what you think your opponent's going to do. And you need to pretty much read your opponent on what you think he's going to do and use her accordingly. So in addition to this, you're also going to want to look for certain route concepts, crossing routes, high-low reads. Just know different things that people like to do on offense and read them accordingly. Then when you think you know what they're doing, you can follow one thing and then run up and go to another thing. So for instance, if I hike the ball, I'm just going to try to read what I think my opponent's doing. As you see, I kind of followed the X route and then I dropped down to the triangle route. So the reason I do things like that goes into my fourth tip, and that is to bait your opponents. So when I talk about baiting the opponent, what you want to do is make them think you're going to cover something else, and then when they think they have someone open, at the last minute you switch your coverage and you intercept it. So in order to do this, you pretty much need to know, like, you can tell the play that they're going to do. You can see other routes, because what a lot of offensive people do, and it's inherent, is when they see this user, this is where their eyes are drawn on the whole field. There's coverage everywhere, but their eyes are going to be drawn to the guy that you're using. And so when they have a drag route and you run down on the drag route, they are going to automatically think, okay, I'm not throwing to the drag route. So even if you just brush down here for a second, then they're going to automatically count out that drag route for the whole route or for the whole play. So a lot of times they're going to have on offense what people like to do. So for instance, this is exactly what I was going to say. They have a drag route by triangle and they have an in coming across. So as a user, he hikes the ball. I'm going to show you what I would do to bait him. You'd see the drag route, you'd come across, and then at the last second you'd kind of flip up, like roll up to the in route. So what I was doing there, I ran with the drag route and then I kind of like rolled back around to the in, and he might think off the bat, like, here, I'm here, and then last second I kind of switch up. If you notice, those are two kind of, it's hard to play offense and user at the same time, but what I was trying to do is like show that I was on the drag and then work up to the in route. And so by doing this, you can bait your opponents and they won't realize that you're going to be covering the guy they want to throw to. They're going to think you're on someone else, and then last moment you can wrap around and run and intercept the ball. So Madden players have the tendency, when you switch directions, to really chop their feet and slow down, and it takes a really long time for them to change direction. So in order to avoid this, when you're moving around, you're going to want to like roll your stick. You're not going to want to abruptly switch directions. You're going to want to roll. So even if it's like a quick roll, you don't want to come across with your analog stick, because that's going to cause them to chop their feet down and really slow down. So I'm going to show this. I'm just going to run around. I'm not going to really try to cover anyone. I'm going to go like over here. I'm just going to show you the difference. It's hard pre-play because they don't full out run. They just kind of like shuffle like that. So once I hike the ball, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So if I'm running and you see how like it takes forever for him to plant and like stop his feet. So that's my example there. He's going to take a sack, and I'm going to show you what I mean when I say roll. And so now when I talk about rolling, call a pass play here. Okay, so now I'm going to go up here and show you what I talk about when I say I want to roll. So you want to be running down here and then roll up. See, he's still in a full sprint. When you roll like that, he doesn't stop sprinting. When you want to change direction like that, he completely comes to a stop and then accelerates again. But when you roll, he continues sprinting, and he's not going to stop sprinting. And that way you can use your momentum and speed to change direction and outrun receivers who are going to be chopping their feet and stopping completely. So The fifth tip is to roll your controller and stay fluid. That's what I kind of like to call it, is stay fluid when you're changing direction, and don't chop your feet and come to a complete stop. And so these 5 tips are the 5 beginner basics tips to becoming a really good user in Madden. The number one thing you can do though is just practice, play against guys online, and try to get your user skills to perfection. I hope this video did help you guys out, and hopefully you guys can become better users after this. If you guys liked the video, be sure to leave a like down below, and do not forget to subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you guys in the next video.